The next presentation is by Dr. Sunil Nijhawan, as outlined in CMD's 24H5.46. Dr. Nijhawan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I come from 2,000 kilometers away to speak perhaps for one final time in front of this commission. I started talking to you guys in 2014. Get back to the minute. I came here leaving my 99-year-old mother with strangers because coming and talking to you was important to me. I come about, first of all, tell you that I'm a nuclear engineer. I've been in the industry for 43 years. I have spent 14 years in university and 43 years working in the nuclear industry. I've written computer codes that nobody has rivaled. I have done design assessments. I have participated in safety reports of almost all Canadian reactors, and I have been approached and worked with other countries in developing new nuclear reactors. I've looked at ACRs. I know why ACRs failed. I know why CANDU has been successful, and I know how we can fix some of the problems which have been sort of put under the table, under the rug. The alternate realities have been created over the last many years about how good our reactors are and how we need to do nothing because they were designed by gods. Nothing is further from truth. I started working in this industry when Pickering B was still being constructed. And I knew people who designed Pickering reactors, and I worked with them for years. And I have ascertained over the years that certain design limitations based on the knowledge of that time prohibited us from doing a better job. For example, we chose feeders of materials which had low chromium but produced less cobalt under radiation. Those feeder materials oxidize much more, they erode much more. Today, Pickering B stations are 40 years old. Pickering Unit 5 is 41 years old. Pickering Unit B, and they came 1 year apart. They have 15 years beyond their useful life, original design life. And it is due to the diligence, the professionalism, and the good work of the OPG staff. I was one of them for 10 years, that they have done so well. But there's some things we cannot deny. One of them is that materials erode. Carbon steel, we should have never made our feeders out of carbon steel. Carbon steel erodes at the rate of about approximately 0.1 millimeter a year. And therefore today, our feeders are eroded by approximately 60%. Our pipes, our secondary side pipes are eroded down. Secondary side pipe, that is the steam system pipe, secondary side pipe accidents have occurred at 12 power plants. Last one which caused deaths was in Japan in 2004, where 125 people were injured and 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5, I don't remember, people died. Because what's happening in Pickering B is that our inlet feed water pipe, which is also eroding, but we don't know where it is, if it bursts, the overpressure inside the heat transport system would be 100%. Now, overpressure should never be more than 20% for accidents which are rare, and no more than 10%. That's the engineering law, ASME law. More than 10% in other cases. Now, this is not something I made up. Pickering safety report says so, that overpressure because of failure of that pipe be 100%. So what are the consequences? Consequences in overpressure is you can fail channels. Channels are deteriorating. They are high, they're high in hydrogen. They will deteriorate. They are more susceptible now than ever to break. If fuel channels, pressure tubes fail, and they fail other channels as a consequence, you can also fail cylinder vessel. It hasn't failed before because our failures were of a different nature. So things like that can happen in our reactors. Pickering B reactors are at an age where they should not be operated, should not have been operated even now, because of some of the information I put in my submission. The elongation along the bearing, where the bearing of the go off pad was predicted by OPG to be enough to go off bearing in 2001. It didn't happen, but it couldn't happen any time. I used their model, gave you a table saying over time, this elongation can cause a loss of support on the, that's just like in a pontoon boat, when the pontoon disappearing, and then you're going to have an issue with the pressure tube integrity. There are other issues. Inherently, we have created alternate realities, for example, about how bad a severe accident can be. I think the chances of a severe core damage accident at Pickering are slightly more than at other CANDU reactors. But even at other CANDU reactors, where I have created 4 computer codes used by all over the industry for severe core damage in all of the reactors, severe core fuel damage in spent fuel machines and in spent fuel bays. That's where fuel can get damaged. I've done that. And I predicted that the amount of damage, the amount of releases can be very high. It's not just me predicting. People have done experiments where they have said, you heat up the fuel to 1500 degrees centigrade, the releases from the fuel be 1% per minute. Cesium iodide will be released at 1% per minute. Yet, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission staff created an alternate reality which was carried over by the industry, saying the total releases from a bad accident in a CANDU reactor will be 100 terabecquerels of cesium-137. 100. Actual inventory is 50, 60, 70,000. How come it will be only 100 if the release of 1% a minute, but you're only hot to this level? Because this was a lie. This was something which was created in 2014 at a hearing by Ramji Jamal and Patsy Thompson. And when I went back to them over the next 6 months, they came back and said, oh, sorry, we didn't do analysis as we said using my code. They actually made it up. It was the definition of a large release. So all our emergency procedures outside for protecting the public are based on 100 terabecquerels cesium-137, not only in Ontario, but also in New Brunswick. Actual releases, which happened at Fukushima, were 30,000 approximately, they say. I predict there'll be no less. And why would there be no less? Because our containments are 5 times leakier than a PWR containment. They're 2% per hour release, but while they have 0.1% per day, 480 times leakier by design. We don't test our containments. We tested a vacuum building. We don't test our containments as required by CNSC documents. They should be done every 7 years. They're not. We don't test containment because we know you pressurize it to the design value, something will go really bad wrong. Our hydrogen sources are much larger than anybody else, because not only we have a large amount of zircaloy, which oxidizes a lot, we also have a large amount of carbon steel in feeders. Why did we forget that? I myself forgot to do that. I didn't do that when I set up my first code, map can do, which everybody uses. But then I went back and looked at data for oxidation of our steel that we use, which is ASTM 106B. It oxidizes an order of magnitude faster than zircaloy, and starts oxidation at a temperature much below zircaloy, which doesn't oxidize till about 700 degrees. So the amount of hydrogen which we will produce will be 10 times more than predicted by previous analysis, by anybody. So if we stop, if we don't tell people how much hydrogen will be generated, if we don't tell people how much fission products will come out, what are we doing? What are we doing for emergency management? Just telling stories. We shouldn't do that. We should not do that. As engineers, this is, in my personal opinion, it is criminal to do that. Yet the industry has known for decades that these sources of hydrogen can be much higher. They haven't done that. Even at last hearing I went to, I think at Bruce, they said the total hydrogen production from severe accident will be 65 kilomoles of hydrogen. They're also still sitting in the hydrogen age. We don't produce hydrogen, we produce deuterium. All our measurements are for hydrogen or our detection is for hydrogen, we should be doing deuterium. We didn't do that. So there are a lot of things which have to be done. I can't talk about all of them. Time is running out, but I gave you a list of things which should be looked at. I recommend that I'm a nuclear engineer. I want nuclear energy to live and survive, but do it in a healthy manner. I suggest to you, deny an immediate extension of this thing. Let them do it, please, please. Give them 3 or 4 months to fix some of the things I want them to fix. Then you can give them an extension. Right now is the wrong time. There is not enough basis for that. I haven't even covered a tenth of the thing I want to talk about. I really think you guys need independent technical advice. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you anytime. I'll come and spend a day with you and give you a talk on what kind of accident can happen. Because I have done safety assessments, I have done computer code which produced these results, and I have looked at experiments, I've done experiments, and I'm telling you, the alternate realities created for you are dangerous for my country. They're wrong. We can do better, and we have not done so. We have, in my personal opinion, not looking at this commission, so far, a commission has never denied application for a power reactor, never. The only thing commission has CNSC ever punished them for security breaches, but not for safety assessment. If this industry knows, if CNSC knows that the relief valves in all our reactors, pressure relief valves in all our reactors are smaller than the pressure relief valve in our basement water heaters, they should have been fixed. They have known that. They first denied it for 20 years. Long story is 2001, I was a part of the industry. I got heart surgery. I decided I'm going to live or not. I'm going to fix one thing, fix these relief valves. I call up John Waddington at CNSC, and he agreed to meet with me, gave it to people. Nothing happened for 20 years. Finally, CNSC staff has agreed with me that those relief valves should be changed, but they haven't done a thing about it.
Attorney Nijhawan, thank you very much. And I understand you acknowledge the time, and we've been a bit generous with that with you, but please, if you would mind wrapping up. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, thanks for your presentation, and we really appreciate you coming 2,000 kilometers to see us. It's quite an effort on your behalf. That concludes my question, so back to you.
The last comment, I'll start with that. Research and development, I'm told, has shown negligible difference in hydrogen and deuterium, factor of 2 in every property, thermal conductivity, density, viscosity, you name it, and difference in combustion properties, transport properties, difference in recombination. There's difference in everything. What are you talking about? That there's no difference? That's nonsense. They're 2 different gases, twice heavy as the other, with different bond energies. What are you talking about? Everything is different between the 2. Some things are small, like recombination is only maybe square root of molecular weight, 1.4, 1 over 1.4. You know, that much different, but still 40% different. What are you talking about? Of course they're different. They're not the same gas. We just thought it was too expensive to do experiments with the D2. That's what I was told by people in Whiteshell, that they didn't want to do experiment with D2, did with H. Everything is done for H2. Don't know why. We're spending billions of dollars on stuff. We can't acknowledge that our gas is deuterium, our liquid is D2O. All our models, computer code these guys are using use H2O. Why? Not enough work, real work is being done. Much more work is done in writing speeches, but not work being done in research. We should do more research, more computations. And whenever I've come up in the last 15 years, well, actually 10 years, telling them these are things to change. We don't want to do anything. We are happy with what we are. How can you tell me that my reactor is going to give out only 100 terabecquerels of cesium-137 when everybody else is predicting 30,000? What's special about reactor? What's special about reactor is we got too much hydrogen, which will blow up my already weak containment. So we should make better hydrogen mitigation measures. Which brings me to the point that we make hydrogen recombiners, which are excellent, but they're really bad for us. Excellent means you give them more hydrogen, they absorb at a faster rate, but they get hotter. So the exit temperature goes above the ignition temperature of hydrogen, so they'll create explosions. Germans recognized it a long time ago, and they came up with these recombiners, which are not where you take a piece of cloth and you dip it in palladium and call it a recombiner. What they do, they deposit with electrolytic method. So deposition is smaller, rates of recombination are smaller, and the high temperature never reach those high levels. In our case, we are lied about our amount of hydrogen production. So we say we're okay. At small hydrogen production, these don't get hot, there'll never be any fires. But in my prediction, our recombiners will actually be flamethrowers in a real accident. They'll actually create explosions. We should, and I pointed that out 10 years ago. People in Korea are changing that, but we are not doing anything about it. Because we have this pride of whatever we created is good, we don't need to ever acknowledge an error. Why can't we acknowledge an error? Oh, effective full power hours. When did we come up with that? That's an error. It should be ACL always for 40 years used hot years. How many years you've been under hot conditions? Effective full power hours for a poorly operating reactor is lovely. They're operating at 50%. So they can say, my hours are small, I can operate for 2 more years. That's wrong. It should be, because there's no linear relationship between neutron flux and any of these effects. They're all non-linear. The curves I gave you about deterioration of feeders have no effect of full power hours, but yet they are presented as a function of full power hours. They should be as a function of velocity times Q. That's what the rest of the world does. What is the velocity? What is Q integrated over time? Q means amount of fluid which is going in. That is the degradation of feeders. We should put science into these things, not wishful thinking that, well, we can show that operating Pickering B like we did at 50%, I can get the same number of hours over a longer number of years. But you might one day create failure at Pickering, which will cause Scarborough to be written off long before they wake up. That's what I worry about. Because we have to, another lie we have told is, which I'm sorry you're calling it a lie, another analytical error we have made is that our boilers are good for 5 hours. We have such good boilers, Pickering Darlington says, that we have for 5 hours, nothing happens in our reactors because somebody used a wrong input number. The reality is our boilers are no different than American boilers in a PWR. They are good for 1 hour and 10 minutes before they dry out. Ours are also good for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. That's all they are, not 5 hours. So by telling people, there were 2 tricks made in analysis. One was that our boilers are good for 5 hours, that before 5 hours fuel doesn't heat up, and then it begins to heat up. By the time it begins to heat up, the decay heat is so low that the temperatures don't reach very high. And then we made another nice, beautiful assumption, using my code, saying that, well, when it heats up and it reaches about 1200 degrees centigrade, the whole core falls down. Quenches for 24 hours, we have nothing come out of our reactors. Good news, good news. That is not true. The computer code I write today, which I've written today, which the Koreans use, some other countries use, some of my clients use, for free. I'm not selling it to you, I'm just telling you, giving it out free. It takes, on my supercomputer, 3 days to run. The computer code I wrote for these people, who they use now, runs the same case in 4 minutes. That's how much more computation I do. That's where I come up with these ideas, these warnings to you, that you are living in a utopia. You've been told that the reactors won't have any bad accidents, and when they do, nothing bad is going to happen. The vice president of Blues Power made a presentation. I forget his name. He was a good friend of mine. I'm 74, I forget things. He said we don't need to have any emergency protection zones anymore because nothing is going to go out. They believe the lies which have been generated, the alternate realities have been generated. We will have heat up our fuel, we will have releases, we will have hydrogen, which will blow up our containment, which will create enormous damage. We can fix all these things. All these things, whenever appointed in the 10 papers, internationally peer-reviewed papers I've written, I've also given solutions to them. What we can do to make them better. We can delay this, we can augment this, we can add this, we can make them. I'm proud of my kind of industry. But what has happened lately, it just boggles my mind. Why we keep telling people nothing will happen? Or whatever will happen will be so benign, we need to not do anything. And I even called the Ontario EMO. And I said, listen, guys, this is wrong. They said, no, we trust OPG. That's what the number they gave us. I called even the fire department at Point-la-Pro. I said, listen, guys, don't go there after 1 hour. They said, no, we've been told we are good for 3 hours. We can, if something happens, don't do that because your people will die. Like 29 people died in Chernobyl. By the way, I was also trained in Russia when I was young. I worked on Chernobyl. I was sent by the Canadian government to work after Chernobyl accident to do safety assessment at Ignalina, and I worked in the institute we designed the RBMK reactor. I worked in AECL, I worked over here. I worked in PWRs in the US where I did my PhD. I'm telling you, I'm coming you with honest advice. Please change the tune of these meetings. Don't just give them an extension every time they want one. Ask them more tougher questions. And please get some independent technical advice because you're not getting good advice right now. Thank you.
Thank you for presentation.
Wow.